calling in from Europe and Israel. I guess it is 10:46, so we can get started. So Jean-Jacques, whenever you're ready. And then just, yeah, tell me the next slide when you want to advance.
Hello, everybody. I begin? It's okay?
A little louder.
Okay, so we will speak a little bit about a microscope. Maybe you don't know that, maybe you know a little bit. Next slide, please. Well, in fact, we have a new challenge at the moment. It is breaking quantum-resistant algo before the quantum computer, and the race is really beginning. See, I have here a print for SIDH, 3 papers at the moment, not speaking about a rainbow this morning, and see also archive where there are also a lot of interesting paper about that. Next slide. So we see the 3 paper here, so I will go fast. Next slide. Okay, and next slide, sorry. So we are in polynomial time at the moment. It's not exactly what we can expect except for quantum computers. The next slide. And in fact, we are now what we call maybe all-time classification is the classification of today, in fact. So the prediction was classical algos will be broken by quantum computer, action then replaced by quantum-resistant algos, missed, and prediction then quantum computer appear. But in fact, what we have is action. We standardize new algo. Next action, we break the algo. And in fact, writing the paper is slower than the attacks at the moment, and prediction waiting for quantum computer. So it's time to change. Next slide, sorry. Yes, and next slide again. So it's time to change the vocabulary. Not speaking about post-quantum algos, but pre-post defunct, in fact, quantum algos. And for RSA, ECC, and so on, we have to speak about permanent algo. So we need to come back to cryptanalyze the formal ones to be sure. And for that, my microscope. And maybe you don't know that, but it was invented here at UCSB. So here is the object. Next slide. Next slide, sorry. Okay, so here is the object. There is a pattern, next slide. And what you see is that there are 2 inventors, and from Santa Barbara, and in fact from UCSB, it was invented in the 60s. Next slide. So you see the drawing from the patent. And next slide. So they are using it. Next slide. And it is magical. Next slide. So remember the story Twinkle to you 20 years ago about, and we propose to replace it by an extension of a microscope for doing the same thing indeed. Next slide. is a paper by Adi Shami. Next slide. The other one by Adi Shami and Tauber. And we go to the conclusion. Sorry, I don't have time to explain how to go to from microscope to microscope. It's time to come back to a new Catacrypt conference. See catacrypt.net in next weeks. And thanks for your attention.
I'm ready, Nadia. Once you're ready, just let me know.
Okay, I think we're ready.
Great. Next slide. So welcome everyone. Thank you for staying for the a bit faster. Thank you for staying till the last session of the rump session. I know it's very late there in California. I'm very sorry I couldn't attend in person. Please, next slide. So I want to discuss a result with my student Shibam Ghosh, and this is about a Russian standard, the Advanced Crypto-Pro Key Meshing, ACPKM. Now, this is a mode of operation for rekeying. Once you exchange a key, you want to have the key which is fresh, so you keep on changing the keys without interaction. So this is a mode of operation for rekeying without additional freshness. And this is a predecessor of a project of the protocol Crypto-Pro Key Meshing, CPKM, which was proposed in 2016. This mode, ACPKM, was actually proposed by Smysheliev in 2019. Actually, it was adopted by IETF. You can find it as an informational RFC 8645, and it was accepted by ISO 10116. And the idea is that you have a key which is kept updated every day. They use the term section. So you have a bunch of blocks which are sections, and the encryption itself is done using a counter mode. So I'm going to show you the mode. Next slide, please. And the idea is as follows. You exchange a key using your favorite method, whether it's a dictatorship secure or not, it's your choice. And then you have a set of constants and you just encrypt them under the old key, depending on the number of the block size and the key length, the number of constants that you need. And then you take the most significant bits of the string that you need. And now, if you look very carefully, both the RFC and the ISO have a proposal for these constants. And there's one very important aspect of these constants. They have to be chosen in such a way that there is no way to get nonce concatenated with the counter, which is equal to one of the constants. Otherwise, because of the counter mode, you're going to release the key, and there is some technicalities there. But both of them have a series. Both RFC and ISO have a proposal for the constants. So next slide, please. So here is a problem with the scheme. If you look very carefully of the update function, this is actually the new section keys, the application of a random function to the old key. And this means that as you progress, as the number of section increases, the entropy goes down. And we know this is a very, very well-known result, and it has been used multiple times in cryptography. Next slide, please. Actually, what we found out that the reduction was usually analyzed in the sense of the number of possible keys, what is called H0 entropy. Actually, if you look at the real entropy, the Shannon entropy, the drop is higher. And actually, if you look at the guessing entropy, the H infinity, it is even lower, meaning that the drop is larger, which means that the entropy of the key in the 500 section is much smaller than for the beginning. So there is a very simple solution for that, and we can easily amend the standards such that we demand high entropy keys to begin with, or limit the number of updates. So this ensures that the security doesn't degrade too much. But wait, there is more. Next slide, please. So apparently, when the block size is not a multiple of 8, the constants which were proposed actually allow the situation of IV concatenated with counter being equal to one of the constants. Now, when this is the case, I remind you that in counter mode, we just release the encryption of the IVX reduce the counter, which when it happens to be the I, this means that you release parts of the key of some section. And this is obviously a bad thing because it hurts the following sections as well. So there are two possible solutions for that problem. First of all is to change constants, which might be useful. And another option is to just prevent the use of non-multiple of 8 block sizes because the constants were designed for that sort of block ciphers in mind. Oh, but wait, there is more. What? So apparently, if there are differentials in the scheme, and I see that there are some, apparently I'm over time a bit. If there is such a scheme, a differential, high probability differential, it might be a bit of a problem in your scheme. Okay, I'm out of time, so I'm out of, but there are other problems as well. Just to conclude, to solve the problem for ICPKM, either you ensure keys that start with a lot of entropy and you have to update constants, and you make sure that the block size is not a multiple of 8, and that there are no hidden or just happen to be there either related key differentials or regular differentials in the design, or just use something which is more secure. Spasibo.
Hurry up, please. Hurry up, please. Hurry up.
Done. Next slide.
Hurry up, please.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. So thank you. So I'd like to talk about how we do our publication at ICR, and it's a follow-up to what Michel was describing during the membership meeting and trying to explain in more details what I wanted to talk about. Next, please. Next slide, please, Nadia. Okay, thank you. So we all know that the ICR conferences are very successful. We have very good papers, very good presentations. The whole system works relatively well, but we also know that there are definitely some issues with the current system. For instance, there's a relatively large review load because of papers that are iteratively submitted to the different conferences. There's a need to travel. When you have a paper accepted, you have to present it. We also know the field is growing over time, and this needs some adjustments, and some areas are less represented than others in the conferences. So, of course, this has been the case for a while, and some people have tried to improve the situation, and we have actually moved forward over time. For instance, in 2013, there was a proposal to move all our conferences to journal conference hybrids. It didn't work at the time, but it was good to start moving to try to make proposals. In 2015, we moved to double track. That was a way to absorb the growth, and apparently we're going to move to triple track soon. In 2016 and 18, FSC and CHESS moved to a hybrid journal. So this is like an echo of the proposal from 2013, but some areas actually moved to hybrids. And recently, we've had a proposal for a new journal that's been running now. And this will be discussed in the community, and there will be a vote. And the motto of the new journal is that it should not compete with current conferences, but complement them. So I think this is all good. And Clearly, moving to journal will solve some of our problems. But I think the new journal proposal is in a way too small. We need to think more globally about our publications. And if we have issues with conference publishing, we should solve them by modifying the conference. If we just add something on the site, we're not going to fix the issues that are really due to the conferences themselves. Next slide, please. Thank you. So in order to make a proposal in this direction, I've written a document that's available here. You have a link here. It's also in the chat.iscr.org. I'm sorry, the first version of the link I posted there was wrong, but there's a new one that should work. And my idea was to start from the issues that we have in the current system and try to discuss several ways that we can solve them. And I tried to go into two different directions. One of them is to make short tweaks that we can apply for the next conference. And the other one is to have a more forward-looking thing, to think about a more global organization that will require a little bit more work. And the main idea is to move all conferences to journal hybrid. But really the goal is to have an open discussion, starting from the problem and looking at solutions. So please contribute, please tell me if I'm missing problems, please tell me if some of the solutions don't work, or if you have other ideas to solve the problem. Next slide, please. So the vision for long-term reorganization is to have something based on journal hybrids and to have two different layers. So on top we would have a flagship journal corresponding to crypto, Eurocrypt, Decrypt. And the idea is that you submit to the journal, and if your paper is accepted, you are invited to submit at one of the conferences. And then we would have a series of area journals for the different area conferences that we have now. And so each area conference I'm sorry, I'm having network issues. So the good thing is that with this system, we have a clear separation of the different journals. Each one has a clear positioning, and we have two well-identified tiers for the flagship and for the areas. And this is actually similar to what we're doing with the American Physical Society, where we have the flagship journals and thematic journals. Next slide, please. So just to explain a little bit the proposal, let's start from the problems. So one of the problems is the resubmission problem, because when you submit to a conference, your paper is either accepted as it is or rejected. And when your paper is rejected, usually you will submit it again to the same conference or to a different one. So this means your resubmission will be evaluated by a fresh set of reviewers, and this is really a waste of time for reviewers and for authors in many cases. So as a short-term tweak, what we could do is to forward the reviews from one program committee to the next, at least for the 3 flagship conferences. There is already something for IECR conference that you can use sticky reviews, but I think forwarding directly the reviews from the PC would make this more efficient. And in a more long-term vision, what we can do is move to hybrid journals. And then if we move the 3 flagship conferences to a single journal, it means that when you resubmit from crypto to Eurocrypt, it's really the same journal. So if your paper was rejected, you're not really supposed to submit the same paper unless it has been significantly modified. And if your paper was good but not quite good enough, maybe we will ask you for a revision, and then you have a clear idea of what you're supposed to do. And if you do it, the same reviewers will accept your paper. Next slide, please. Another problem that we have is a requirement to travel, and we know that some people don't travel, either because of visa, because of the environment, for many different reasons. And one short-term solution to solve this, just keep the hybrid conferences like we're doing today over Zoom, and we could decide in the IECR to keep this system in place, and currently it's not done. Each conference decides for themselves, and maybe one short-term tweak was to completely decide we will keep this. In the longer term, if we move to hybrids, we can make presentation optional, and this will not require people to travel. And finally, the other problem is the growth of the community, but I think I don't have time to explain this, so I'll just stop here. But look at the proposal, please discuss it, and hopefully this will help us move forward. Thank you.
Hurry up, please. Hurry up, please.
Thank you.
Um, um, uh, sorry, just had a wonderful breakfast of hummus. I would like to announce a joint competition with Nadim, and can you please have the next slide? We would like to announce the best crypto competition ever. Next slide, please. Oh. So you see, our community has a lot of cryptographic competitions. We had the AES and SA and Ethereum and Chattery and Caesar and PQC and Lightweight Crypto, and there are even some smaller competitions like PHC, etc. But the thing is that competitions are about to end very soon, and then you're going to be stuck without competitions. Now, next slide, please. The problem with all of these competitions, I mean, the good part is that they inspire research and students get their PhDs, and actually it focuses the community on real challenges. And then we have also a timeline, so people in industry can predict when they're going to have a new hash function standard. Next slide, please. But there is a big problem there. First of all, there's a lot of wasted effort. People are working on breaking stuff that shouldn't have been submitted to begin with. The community is focused on one thing and not on other things. For example, in the SHA-3 competition, everybody were working on introducing new ciphers and stopped working on breaking SHA-256. Sometimes the problem which is defined at the beginning of the process is significantly different than the one that we actually want to solve. And the thing is that, do we really need that many people with PhDs in crypto? I mean, there is already too many of those. You see, you just saw Gaiton's presentation. There are way too many submissions to begin with. Now, the thing is that it is something that the crypto community is failing miserably, is that we have this sort of gatekeeping, right? We only have cryptographers winning these competitions. And I think this is actually a horrible thing. Next slide, please. So we're going to announce the best and the newest crypto competition. So we have something to do next year. Who will decipher the secret to a great hummus? Next slide, please. Apparently, in the Eurocrypt 2022 rump session, Nadim and I hosted a successful co-located event. You can see the link over there. And we decided to run a new competition, which is the chickpeas paste competition, the CPPP. You should read it slightly differently. Next slide, please. So first of all, no gatekeeping. Everybody can participate. This is a great thing, not only cryptographers. Second of all, we don't expect to increase the number of PhD students that graduate due to this competition. So enough with the inflation in the PhDs in cryptography. To be honest, we're not planning to advance crypto research. And if you ate good hummus recently, you know that there's a good chance that you're going to enjoy a posthumous nap. So it's actually going to hinder the research due to that sort of thing. So we are consistent with several other competitions. Next slide, please. So is your hummus indistinguishable from random? Can your hummus be universally composed with tahini? Can your hummus recipe be shared among N players? So we're looking for evaluation board members, hummus suppliers, makers, and of course, sponsors. Next slide, please. The event is going to be co-located with Eurocrypt 2023. So you can find more information at our website, hummuscrypt.org, or on Twitter in IACR hummuscrypt. Thank you very much for your attention and for staying up late.
That concludes our rump session. So the only piece of business that we have left is the prizes. Sorry, brief awards committee, yeah. Good.
Yes. Okay, we have 3 prizes, and they are Cards Against Cryptography decks. So we can all play with them later tonight or later in the conference. We have 3 amazing winners. The first is
Taekyung Kim. Are you still here?
where is he? Maybe he's already sleeping it off. Well, we can give it to him tomorrow.
If anybody knows him and wants to come summon him to pick up his prize. Okay. All right. What do we do? Okay.
Clap for Taekyung again. Yeah. That was really one for the history books. All right, our second prize goes to
Alexis Korb.
for a really inspired rendition of a great Disney classic.
Oh wait, did we get our prize winner? You won a prize.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, and our third prize for most exciting Rump Session Talk goes to
Bordecock. For really speaking to the hot crypto summer that we are all having right now. Well deserved, well deserved. And that's about it. Thanks, everybody. Maybe give yourself a round of applause for staying to the end. That's a phenomenal feat, especially for those of us who are still a little bit jet lagged. And good night, and see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye. Yes.